Hey guys, how's it going? This is Purger of MediaAlternatives.net, your newest website for alternative news and media. Got a document here. This is the Senate Armed Services Committee inquiry into the treatment of detainees in the U.S. custody. This is a declassified document. It can be found at the link on your screen at YouTube. Let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and try and read as much as I can here on air, but I encourage you to go ahead and grab the document. It's a PDF. It's 19 pages long, and it's well worth the reading for you to understand a little bit more about the torturing and how it got started in the U.S. administration and how it kind of matriculated through the ranks there. Going to go ahead and start off here. Executive summary. What sets us apart from our enemies in this fight is how we behave. In everything we do, we must observe the standards and values that dictate that we treat non-combatants and detainees with dignity and respect. While we are warriors, we are also human beings. This, oddly enough, was a quote from David Petraeus on May 10th, 2007. Alright, the collection of timely and accurate intelligence is critical to the safety of the U.S. personnel deployed abroad and the security of American people here at home. The methods by which we elicit intelligence information from detainees in our custody affect not only the reliability of the information but our broader efforts to win hearts and minds and attract allies to our side. Al-Qaeda and Taliban terrorists are taught to expect Americans to abuse them. They are recruited based on the false propaganda, I'm adding quotes to that, false propaganda, that says United States is out to destroy Islam. Treating detainees harshly only reinforces that distorted view and increases resistance to cooperation and creates new enemies. In fact, the April 2006 National Intelligence Estimate, Trends in Global Terrorism Implications for the United States, cited pervasive anti-U.S. sentiment among Muslims as an underlying factor fueling the spread of the global jihadist movement. Former Navy General Counsel Alberto Mora testified in the U.S. Armed Services Committee on June 2008. There are serving U.S. flag rank officers who maintain that the first and second identifiable cause of the U.S. combat deaths in Iraq, as judged by their effectiveness in recruiting insurgents fighters into combat, are respectively symbols of Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo. The abuse of detainees in U.S. custody cannot simply be attributed to the actions of a few bad apples acting on their own. The fact is that senior officials in the United States government solicited information on how to use aggressive techniques, redefined the law to create the appearance of their legality, and authorized their use against detainees. Those efforts damaged our ability to collect accurate intelligence. Those that could have saved lives strengthened the hand of our enemies and compromised our moral authority. This report is a product of the committee's inquiry into how those unfortunate results came about. Presidential orders open the door to considering aggressive techniques. On February 7, 2002, President Bush signed a memorandum stating that the Third Geneva Convention did not apply to the conflict with Al-Qaeda and concluded that the Taliban detainees are not entitled to prisoner of war status or the legal protections afforded by the Third Geneva Convention. The President order closed off the application of Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions, which would have afforded minimum standards for the humane treatment to Al-Qaeda or Taliban detainees. While the President's order stated that, quote, as a matter of policy, the United States Armed Forces shall continue to treat detainees humanely and extent appropriate, consistent with military necessity, in a manner consistent with principles of the Geneva Conventions, end quote. The decision to replace well-established military doctrine, i.e. legal compliance with the Geneva Conventions, with a policy subject to interpretation, impacted the treatment of detainees in U.S. custody. In December 2001, more than a month before the President signed his memorandum, the Department of Defense General's Counsel Office had already solicited information on the detainee, quote, exploitation from the Journal from the Joint Personnel Recovery Agency, JPRA, an agency whose expertise was in training American personnel to withstand interrogation techniques considered illegal under the Geneva Conventions. JPRA is a DoD agency that oversees military survival, evasion, resistance, escape, SERE training. During the resistance phase of SERE training, U.S. military personnel are exposed to physical and psychological pressures. SERE techniques designed to simulate conditions to which they might be subjected if taken prisoner by enemies, which did not abide by Geneva Conventions. As one JPRA instructor explained, SERE training is based on illegal exploitation under the rule listed in the 1949 Geneva Conventions relative to the treatment of prisoners of prisoners over the last 50 years. Techniques used in SERE schools, based in part on the Chinese communist techniques used during the Korean War to elicit false confessions, include stripping a student of their clothing, placing them in stress positions, putting hoods over their heads, disrupting their sleeps, treating them like animals, subjecting them to loud music and flashing lights, and exposing them to extreme temperatures. You can also include face and body slaps until recently. For those who attended the Navy's SERE school, it included waterboarding. Let me check my time here. Alright, still got good time. Alright, typically those who play a part of interrogators in SERE school neither are trained interrogators nor are they qualified to be. These role players are not trained to obtain reliable intelligence information from detainees. Their job is to train our personnel to resist providing reliable information to our enemies. As the Deputy Commander for the Joint Forces Command, JFCOM, I guess we could say, JPRA's higher headquarters put it, quote, "The expertise of JPRA lies in the training of personnel how to respond and resist interrogations, not how to conduct interrogations," end quote. Given JPRA's role and expertise, the request from the DoD's General Counsel Office was unusual. The fact that the committee was not aware of any similar requests prior to December 2001, but while it may have been the first, it was not the last time that a senior government official contacted JPRA for advice on using SERE methods offensively. In fact, the call from the DoD General Counsel's office marked just the beginning of JPRA's support for the U.S. government interrogation efforts. Senior officials seek SERE techniques and discuss detainee interrogations. Alright, beginning in the spring of 2002 and extending for the next 2 years, JPRA supported U.S. government efforts to interrogate detainees. During the same period, senior government officials solicited JPRA's knowledge and its direct support for interrogations. While much of the information related to JPRA's offensive activities had the influence of SERE techniques on interrogation policies remain classified, unclassified information provides a window into the extent of those activities. JPRA Chief of Staff Lieutenant Colonel Dan Baumgartner testified in the late 2001 and early 2002. JPRA conducted briefings of the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA personnel on detainee resistance techniques and information on detainee exploitation. On April 16, 2002, Dr. Bruce Jessen, the senior SERE psychologist at JPRA, circulated a draft exploitation plan to JPRA Commander Colonel Randy Moulton, and other senior officials at the agency. The contents of the plan remain classified, but Dr. Jessen's initiative is indicative of the interest of JPRA senior leadership to expand the agency's role. One opportunity came in July 2002. That month, DoD Deputy General Counsel for Intelligence Richard Schifrin contacted JPRA seeking information on SERE's physical pressures and interrogation techniques that had been used against Americans. Mr. Schifrin called JPRA after the discussions with William Jim Haynes II, the DoD General Counsel. Let me check my time again. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and end it right there, but I do have a link to it up here. And I guess mainly what I wanted to go over with you guys is to show you how this kind of is going on, and that's just on page. I just read you to page. Let me get the page here. That was page 4, but it's 19 pages, so I mean it's pretty long. So what I guess I would like for people to do is to read it, because it's a lot of great information, and it shows you how things kind of went through as far as what the torture goes. And you can also, you heard that this was the manual that was used to create false positives or false information. This is what the Chinese used to get people to have false confessions. Ask McCain if you don't believe me. Peace, guys. MediaAlternatives.net.